This is a Seagram's Diet Ginger Ale.
I don't know how you drink diet soda.
Diet Dr. Pepper's okay. There are some that get the
Diet
flavor
Dr.
down.
Pepper's all right.
Diet 7-Up's
I
all right.
can't do Diet Coke at all.
Yeah.
I can't.
You know what it is to me?
I can do Coke
though,
Zero.
honestly, and I don't know if it's like psychosomatic at this point, but it gives me a headache. Aspartame, I just react to it immediately, and like I said, I don't know if it's because I know it's supposed to happen at this point or what. But
I used to get that.
I'm not convinced that the diet stuff is healthier either.
I am actually really convinced that the diet stuff is unhealthy in much worse ways than making you fat. But I don't have any science to back that up. I just don't trust it.
Well, just go ahead and proclaim on Twitter.
Well, that's what just like they have no science backing up global warming. I mean, I still believe in it, but clearly it's a leap of faith.
Show me the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we do a clap?
Sure.
Yep. All right. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Perfect clap. Hello and welcome to episode 429 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, December 27th, 2016.
529.
Yeah.
You said 429.
Did I say 429? What?
You did. You lopped a whole 100 weeks off of our run.
What the shit is that? All right, I'm going to start over.
All right. And is it the 27th of this is airing?
Yes.
Yeah, unless I release it early. But
the day after Boxing Day.
All right.
I'll probably release it on Monday or maybe even earlier. I don't know. Whenever I finish editing. Hello and welcome to episode 529 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, December 27th, 2016. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, the man with the golden voice. I put it in an envelope, or I set it in a note, Mr. Greg Stewart.
That's funny because I thought you were going to introduce Ethan as the man with the golden voice because Ethan was by far the best singer on that song.
Yes, and joining us also from California, Mr. Ethan Einhorn, golden voice and future winner of American Idol.
Is that show even on anymore?
Sure it is. Well, no, maybe The Voice. There we go.
That's what you get. That's what you get when you're in high school and you want to blow off class and you take swing choir. So I mean, I could have come up with a dance to go with that too if you'd wanted.
Well, that's for next year.
That's next year. We'll do a video version.
Video version of the song next year.
Yeah.
Choreographed by one Ethan Einhorn. Choreographed and performed by one LL Cool E.
In case the listeners don't know what we're talking about, in episode 528, we did a Christmas song, Last Christmas, made famous by Wham.
And we're using the word song loosely.
Song loosely, yeah. The only one who's really singing is Ethan.
Yeah.
And
wrapped it up in a note.
And send it in a note.
Send it in a note.
That line made me laugh so hard when editing. And the best part about it is that I think the best part is that we each record this thing separately without listening to what the other guys are doing whatsoever. So when I get when I have all 4 tracks, I'm listening to them like for the first time. It cracks me the hell up, especially Ethan's. Like I laughed so hard because he was actually good. He took it seriously, and his track was great.
I couldn't believe the beautiful harmonies that came out of that, considering we all recorded separately.
I know. Oh,
and
like
most of us clearly had.
Man.
Most of us clearly had no idea what the words were, or even the tune, even the tune outside of the chorus. But
that's also the best part. It's better if you don't know or don't even practice. Like, don't even know. That makes the best part. Yeah. So maybe we should at some point release something with like all of the Christmas songs that we've done, because at this point we've done what, 4?
Yeah.
4 or 5?
Yeah, something
maybe.
Like that.
Yeah. They're good stuff. Anyway, let's talk about Super Mario Run.
All
again.
Right.
Because I mean it's a
I would just like to say considering its high 20s conversion rate, it's a triumph.
No, it didn't get anywhere close to that. So
completely wrong on that. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just repeating what I heard on some podcast last week.
No, I know. No, I can eat that crow. That was me making a wildly over-optimistic,
delicious crow. Yeah. So Nintendo announced that they did 40 million downloads in 4 days, which is phenomenal.
Not too shabby.
It's up to 50 million now. They just announced
up to 50 million now. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And several outlets were trying to estimate the revenue out of that because, of course, Nintendo's not going to release what their conversion rates were. So there was some wild speculation in the early couple days that they had already made $15 million or whatever. And a few days ago, App Annie, which is a sort of analytics firm that they do a lot of analysis on this stuff, came out and said what the conversion rate is, allegedly. And it's a 7% conversion rate in the US. So,
which is quite high, which is quite
very high.
Yes.
So that's, not double digits, not high 20s, none of that. And there have been a lot of think pieces out about the backlash, the user review backlash.
The best one being the GameIndustry.biz article from Rob Fahey. Really well written.
Yes.
Really eye-opening.
Show both sides of it really well. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Talked about how, well, kind of the angle that you and CJ have taken as being people who have worked or do work in that business. Sort of the wow, these people really don't want to be saved from free to play.
No,
but also went into great detail about where he thinks Nintendo fouled up. And I tend to agree with pretty much everything he said on both sides.
Well, and when it was 2008 and I was the producer on Super Monkey Ball and we were launching day one at the very, very start of the App Store, and we came in number 1 on that first week. Super Mario Run represents what I wanted the future of mobile games to be once it really had locked in and solidified, that you'd have huge brands like that at $10 and you'd get hours and hours of fun. So I'm glad to see it's there, but I really do wonder now, even given the 20 million that they've made, if we're going to see more of that. I wonder how Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem are set up. Are they free to start like that, or are they unlimited spend? I just don't know.
So I wanted to... Sorry, go ahead, CJ.
I'm going to just say on Animal Crossing, you could be pretty fair with that, I think. And even if you, allowed people to buy packs of bells, you could probably be pretty fair with that. And I would probably buy them. But there would be a lot of people who wouldn't and rather earn those in-game. And, that's fine too. And I'm sure they'll make a lot of money from Animal Crossing as well.
The article...
Fire Emblem's a little harder.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem, to me, does not have a clear path to how they make that a free-to-play experience.
Do you do the whole energy thing where it's like you can't play again for another 10 hours?
Energy mechanics have kind of gone out the window for most free-to-play games. Like they really disguise them where the timer is more like come back in 15 hours and we'll give you another bonus. It's not like wait 15 hours because we're still making your thing. Like some games still use that, but largely that has kind of gone away.
But think about the fact that Clash of Clans, Contest of Champions, Candy Crush Saga, these are all games that are still in the top 20 that still have those timers.
That's true, but those games came into the top 20 3 years ago and haven't left.
Yeah, that's true.
That chart, that top grossing chart, if you look at it, it's very stagnant. Like those people haven't.
Yeah, moved. And is that because those games are still making tons of money, or is it because they made so much money 3 years ago that nobody's caught up?
No, they're still making money hand over fist, and they're spending money to get more people in the door.
Well, and that to CJ's point, that's the hard part is year in, year out for Candy Crush. I know that they made less this year than they did the year before because the cost of marketing, the cost per install, is way higher. So they've had to spend more to get the same number of users in.
So just getting away from that for a second and talking more about Nintendo again, because I'm curious, because you've mentioned a couple times, Ethan, some 3DS games.
Yeah.
That had microtransactions, but also had spend cap.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, what could they apply some of the things? Because I don't have any experience with that, because I didn't really play the games that you were talking about. Could they apply those sort of things?
It doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work, and I'm going to explain this as simply as possible, is that right now I just got new information actually last week. The average cost for a mid-core game is $6.75 for a single install, right? So in other words, if you are paying for a install, you are going to spend as a publisher $6.75. Of the ads that you send out where you're paying that amount for every single person who chooses to install the game, only 1% of those people are going to end up spending anything. And so for just that ad buy to break even, the people who spend have to spend on average $675 to just break even on the ad buy. That's the reality of the market right now.
Yeah. So I think, and we should link that article that you're talking about in the show notes, because I think it was a really fascinating read. Again, speaking as someone who's not part of that business, really. I mean, where I work now, we do apps. We've done mobile games, but we don't self-publish. So, it was a fascinating read, because sort of talking about something that we touched on last week, Ethan, where you had mentioned, players that don't spend any money. How they're actually considered sort of part of a long game for a lot of bigger mobile publishers.
Yes, and I think maybe
whether that's a good strategy or not, I don't know, but
well, and Greg, you had talked about being a customer insofar as opting into ads and whatnot, and that is true to a degree, and some games are trying to lean more heavily on that, but CJ and I both know that the money that's actually derived from ads is really low, especially compared to IAP. IAP is where the real money is.
It depends what kind of game that you're making, and depends what kind of ads you're showing. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we probably shouldn't go into in the show here,
right?
But there's a lot of different aspects to this. It's not as black and white as in-app purchase and ads. Like, there's shades of gray for each category, really.
That's true.
We shouldn't dwell on this too long, but again, we should link that article, because to me, the three key takeaways were, $10 is a lot of money. It wasn't a lot of money in 2008. It is now. We've talked about it on this show forever. The race to the bottom got to the point where your game had to be free for anyone to look at it.
The thing about it is, people are used to free. And 98% of the market is used to free and not having to pay anything.
I'll tell you what, though, at $10, had the game had, and I know that this would have been expensive, had the game had triple the amount of worlds, I'll bet you we still wouldn't be having this conversation. Not like this.
Oh, that would be certainly that would be different.
You'd have to just have a stupid amount of content, and that would justify it.
I don't think so. I think people would still be pissed. I think you'd see just about the same thing.
I think you're right. I think it actually doesn't matter what the game content was, because a lot of these people reviewed the game as 1 star without even knowing how many worlds there were.
Right.
Like, they were giving it 1 star because of the price, and that is it.
Well, because of the price and because of one other thing, and this was touched on in the article, and I touched on it last week, is that the 3 levels that were free, they were over fast. And you hit a paywall, and we all know, and it's brought up in that article, a paywall is no good. A paywall does not work.
That's exactly it.
That was their biggest problem. So within 5 minutes of downloading the game, I'm told you can't play anymore unless you give me $10.
So I'd love to know,
not exactly 5 minutes, but I get
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would love to know who Nintendo saw as the audience for this, because somebody on my Facebook feed said something that was very interesting to me, which is, if Nintendo had put this out as a free-to-play game, as a true free-to-play game, the people who are Nintendo fans would be less likely to spend anything in it at all. And I think that that's absolutely true. I will tell you this much. The one brand that means more to me as a consumer than Mario is Fire Emblem. That's my favorite game series of all time. And if that has $99 in-app purchases, I won't even download it. right? I don't care how good it is. I just, feel very negative about that type of business model. But then again, are they trying to target people like me? And should they be? Because I'm going and I'm buying 2 Nintendo Switches sight unseen already. They already know they're going to be getting, thousands of dollars from me over the course of 1 year.
And that's a really good point, because I actually responded to that guy on your Facebook feed, and maybe they were going after Nintendo fans, but to me, I think that's folly. They've got diehard fans that are almost going to buy anything that they put out, no matter what. But that number's dwindling. It has been dwindling for a while. I'm not saying that it's down to the point where they don't make any money, but you just have to look at the performance of the Wii U to know that the Nintendo brand doesn't carry enough hardcore loyalists to make something a success anymore.
Well, the other thing nobody seems to be talking about is the big problem is that Mario is by definition a skill-based game. And the games that hit the top of the charts are metagames. So even if they have action elements, something like, Contest of Champions fakes fighting, right, as a core mechanic, but really at a certain point, it's just about how powerful your team is, right? Mm-hmm. It's about the meta and building that. And that's why so many Eastern games actually have autoplay, because the play becomes meaningless. It's really just about continuing to rank up your characters. A Mario game doesn't work that way. If it's a skill-based game, it can't work like the games in the top 50. It just can't.
Yeah. Speaking of Mario Run, I want to bring up, so the Wall Street Journal had a report that Nintendo does not have any plans to add levels to Super Mario Run, which came out right after we recorded our episode last week, which I am extremely surprised by. And then this week they updated with Christmas decorations, and it's like, what? Why are you doing that? But you're going to say no, you're not going to add any more levels. Like that's
which, by the way, we're locked.
Well, of course they're locked.
Goes back to what I was saying last week. I gave you $10. Don't lock this crap. It's Christmas. Don't lock this crap.
Yeah, I see that. But I will say that over the course of this week, I've put close to another 10 hours into the game.
I've deleted it.
I got into
I got through all the worlds and I deleted it.
Yeah, but you didn't go for the extra coins. So you defeated.
No, I didn't.
You played the casual mode.
I am not
hyper casual mode.
I'm not that gamer. But to further to that, when I play a Mario game on the 3DS or the Wii U, I don't go back and replay it to get all the coins or the red coins either. That's not what I play Mario games for. So,
I
get it. I get it.
I think that's valid. By contrast, in my household, it has done exactly what I think Nintendo intended in that. I was got home about an hour before the podcast, was setting up, making sure everything was sorted upstairs, came downstairs, and my entire family, my wife and my 2 kids, were playing Super Mario 3D World without me.
But it doesn't count if you told them they're not in the will if they don't play. And Mario 3D World is a different game. Let's be honest.
It is, but it's a different game. But what I'm saying is, like, if their plan was to get people re-engaged with Mario, right? Because the kids are fighting over the phone when we're out doing something because they want to play that game, come home and they're dying to play the big one, right? I think that it really does kind of inspire that, because again, I've never seen my family want to play that without my prompting them ever.
That's fair.
Yeah. You want to continue talking about Super Mario?
No, I don't. If you were going to move on, I wanted to bring something up that I forgot to put on the.
Go ahead. Bring it up.
It's completely unrelated. So people who followed my Twitter feed would probably have seen this. So earlier this week, I woke up one morning, checked my email, and at 5 o'clock, I'd been sent a notice by PlayStation.
Oh, right.
That I had successfully changed the email address on my PSN account.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was scary. So I spent the better part of the day trying to fix that, because wow, our PlayStation's customer service rep's not helpful.
That's too bad.
What was the?
Well, I mean, first of all, it was 5 a.m. that it had happened, so I'm freaking. And of course, they don't have 24-hour support.
That's number one. That's weird.
Number one, that is insane. So the way it works is that their live chat support goes live at 6 a.m. Pacific, which is 10 o'clock my time. Their phone support goes live at 8 a.m. Pacific, so noon my time. So of course I'm freaking out. So I'm using the chat, and so I get on the chat with one rep who I figured out after a while did seem like it was an actual person, so that was nice. Told him, what's going on. Said, okay, give me your information. So I just gave them information, but I pointed out, well, this email address that I'm giving you, this ID, this isn't the current ID on the account because it's been changed. Comes back, well, if you don't have the proper ID, I can't help you. And I'm like, but I'm getting a hold of you because I don't have the proper ID. I just told you it was hacked. Like, ask me anything else about the account. Like, ask me the address, the credit card number, the whatever. It's hooked to my Facebook account. It's hooked to my Twitter account. It's connected to everything. Like, I can give you more information. Said no, can't do anything about it. Because he said the account was started too long ago. The account was too old.
What?
Yeah. So I'm like, what does that even mean? What do you mean the account? Like, it's been active the entire time. I literally just bought something the night before. Yeah. So sort of went around like that for a little while. And then they were finally like, okay, because I kept saying, well, that's unacceptable, right? And then they said, okay, well, we need the proper content or ID address. I'm like, but I don't have it. Like, I'm telling you, the hackers did not send me the new address. Like, I don't know what the address is. It's like, well, I can't help you. And they disconnected.
That's unbelievable.
So immediately got back into the queue, got somebody else. And I again was told, well, the account is too old. We can't make any changes to it. I was just like, what? So, like, what happens to the thousands of dollars I've spent? Digital download future, by the way. What happens to the thousands of dollars I've spent over the last, 10 years? Sorry, can't help you. Disconnect. Like, that was the entire conversation. But then the most bizarre part was, I get on again right away, third person now. And I'm like, here's the deal. I've talked to 2 people already. I'm freaking out. Like, can you help me? What was the address that it was attached to earlier? Told him. It's like, okay, I just sent you an email. Reset your password. You're done.
All right.
Yeah. And first of all, I'm glad you got that sorted. It's a shame that you had to wait to the right person. But having been in a position where one of the teams that fell under me used to be customer service, you have good people and bad people in customer service.
Well, that was proof of that day. Holy mackerel. I was just like, I was expecting a little bit of trouble. I was expecting like, okay, let's elevate this. Let's escalate it to somebody, because of course, I could be anybody. Sure, that's fair. But then find somebody who was helpful within 30 seconds after spending hours dealing with these other 2 jokers.
Well, remember back when Nintendo literally required you to provide them with a police record of theft if you wanted to get back.
Oh, really?
Stuff.
See, I never looked through it.
I went through that. I had my bag stolen, and I had to, and this was during E3, so I had to break out of E3 for a while because I had about $800 worth of content on that 3DS that I couldn't recover, and went and got my police record and talked to, even after having that, 3 people, as you did on the phone, and it wasn't until the third person who was wonderful to make up for the 2 people who were terrible.
Right.
And ultimately, I wouldn't say it's Nintendo's fault because ultimately the person that I, got help from, again, was great and made sure that I got what I needed. But it's a terrible experience if you have to go through that 3 times, and you'll never forget that.
No, exactly. I mean, anyway, moral of the story is turn on 2-step verification on your PlayStation if you haven't already.
Yeah. That's a new feature.
It's a new feature, and you should be taking advantage of it.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Or if you haven't changed your password in a while.
Yeah, it might be a good time to refresh that too.
Yeah.
And make it something strange that you're not going to remember. Like literally something you have to have written down somewhere.
Yeah.
Just make it weird.
Make it weird.
That was my story. Exactly. Make it weird.
It's a good story. Do you want to talk about Overwatch's tracer troubles?
Oh my god, this is so stupid.
This is the stupidest. So, yeah, Blizzard released a comic book for Overwatch that has Tracer kissing another girl in comic book form, and the internet, or at least a certain part of the internet, has freaked out. that.
Let me guess which part.
It's not the Gamergate audience, is it?
No way.
Maybe. Yeah. So some people got offended by it. I don't. God.
Who gives a shit?
Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah. I don't even want. I'm over it. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
What is sitting on your NES Classic back there? Is that a PlayStation TV?
Yeah.
Nice.
The PlayStation TV.
That's a whole lot of goodness stacked up in that little stack there.
That is. It is. How long do you think it will be until Sony releases a PlayStation TV like thing that plays PS1 games? Because they could do that.
Doesn't that one play PS1 games?
Yes.
No, that looks like the old PS1.
Oh, I understand. I doubt they ever will.
Missed opportunity. Yeah.
I think they will. I think after the NES Classic, they are definitely going to do that. They're definitely going
Question
to do
is, has the NES Classic sold enough to be considered a success? Or do we just think it's a huge success because you can't find one?
Well, there's
certainly
been
that aspect.
So, yeah.
There's certainly that aspect to it. And I think in large part now, the fervor has sort of been feeding off of itself, where people are just buying it in order to eBay, even if they have no interest in the thing whatsoever. So it's kind of hard to tell what the actual demand for this thing is. And I suspect, if a lot of these scalpers don't sell all their units or whatever, we're going to see like mid-January a flood come back as 30-day return policies expire at retail. So we'll see. I think Sony would be silly not to do a PS1 classic in the old box style. That'd be cool.
The difference is, though, it would be interesting because the problem is that early 3D games do not age nearly as well as old 8-bit and 16-bit sprite-based games. They don't age well.
They'd have to be careful with their picks on that, because I would not be thrilled to play Ballerina Toshinden today.
No. I mean,
or even Ridge Racer, for that matter.
Yeah, I don't want to play Ridge Racer. Nostalgia, but it's definitely not the same thing. They just don't. Early 3D games, whew. Yeah. Yikes.
At the same time, I got to say, I'm pretty excited that it sounds like Nintendo Switch is going to have Saturn in its virtual
Saturn.
console.
Really?
Where did you hear that rumor? The rumor I've read is GameCube, but I haven't heard anything about any other console. Saturn.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. I'm going to look it up again.
I thought Saturn emulation was notoriously hard to get right.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well.
But I don't follow the scene either, so.
Yeah, I'll have to look deeper into that, but I believe that I did hear that. Maybe I misheard it, but it would be nice if we finally got a good emulation solution for that, huh?
It'd be nice if we got the virtual console back to where it was, where you had, Neo Geo games and TurboGrafx games and Genesis games. And oh man, that was great. So great.
That was a great time. And I wonder if yeah, I mean, you can kind of still play those games if you access the Wii mode on your Wii U, but it's not the same. It's not as convenient.
And now definitely where you'll be able to pick the thing up and take it with you everywhere. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah. Oh yeah, awesome. That'd be awesome. I'd be all over that for sure. All right, let's talk about what we've been playing.
Sure.
Why not?
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah.
Dead Rising 4.
Nice.
Let's talk about it. Dead Rising 4 has come out of the gate and just astounded the hell out of me. This game, I was a super fan of the original Dead Rising. It's one of my favorite games of that generation. And Dead Rising 4, while it does take away some of the things that made that game great, like the time constraints, those are completely gone. The save system where you can only save in bathrooms, that's gone too. Or you can only save in limited locations anyway. That's gone. And what's left now is this kind of amazing open world, which includes the mall, of course, game that I just love running around in the world and killing zombies with cash registers or whatever I can like pick up, or signposts, like different things that you can pick up. Like I just love doing it, and I think the writing is spectacularly bad. Like,
As
but in all of the great ways, it is bad in the exact right way, where it hits my sweet spot of being terrible but also brilliant.
I used to hit your sweet spot.
I kind of can't believe the game does some of the things that it does, and it's just amazing. And I've been taking video clips on the Xbox, which I'm actually considering hooking my Kinect back up so I can just say Xbox record that instead of having to double tap the Xbox Jewel.
Nice.
And pressing a button, like, because it's sort of ruining the end of my videos, because you see me do the double tap and it goes out to the menu.
Can't you edit them right in the? There's a way to edit them, isn't there?
You can. Well, Xbox is not as easy as with PlayStation to edit your videos and then share them. They have a thing in there, but I don't even know. Like it's weird. It's like 3 different applications.
You just need to get yourself an Elgato. Turn on the because those, even when you're not recording, it will be PVRing everything.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I try in my head to think, okay, 30 seconds back, if this was the start of the clip, like where should I do my double tap? So I've been timing it that way. But
just reconnect your Kinect.
I might reconnect my Kinect. That's
well, you may as well do something with it instead of trade it in, because it is going for trade-in value of about $5 at GameStop right now.
Ouch.
That's bad.
I still have mine connected.
But I'm really, really, really having a ton of fun with Dead Rising 4, especially because it's got a whole Christmas theme to it, right? Like that's the whole thing. Even when you go into the pause menu, it's playing Christmas songs. Like,
well, I'm crossing my fingers there. When I was asked what I wanted for Christmas, I kept my list very small with the hopes that I would get everything on it. And that's one of the 3 games I asked for. So
I was finishing up my Christmas shopping today, and I happened to be in a mall with an EB, and I saw it sitting there, and I had it in my hands, like, nah, I can't. Not because I think I'm going to get it, but it's just like clear, Christmas. It's spending too much money anyway, and it's like, no, I can wait for this. Like, I'm not going to play it right away, but it sounds so cool. Every time you talk about it, I'm like, oh my God, I got to play that game.
And I know that there are a lot of Dead Rising faithful that hate it, that think it's too easy and the story's not good or whatever. And I am just like loving every minute and savoring every minute to where like I'm not going directly to the next mission point.
So and just to circle back for a second to what started our show, there's maybe something to be said for reaching out to a new audience, knowing that the old audience, even if they make missing faces, will still buy it anyway. Yeah.
I think there's something to that. This game, I mean, when the original came out, people hated the timed mechanic. Like, I remember NeoGAF threads about how that mechanic was terrible and it ruined the game. And now, of course, that it's gone, people are like, I loved that mechanic. Well, there are some timed elements, but they're completely optional. So some of that still lives, but I am just having an absolute blast. And of course, when you put on like the Kobun head, which I've done a couple of times, it stays with you in the cinematics, in the cutscenes.
It's so interesting.
It's hilarious. And all the blood splatters that have been on your clothes, like throughout the game, they stay on you during the cinematics. It's fantastic.
It's interesting to me, though, also that people who have played 3 of these games, and so really do deeply understand how the systems work, how to min-max, escort missions, things like that. Like, these are skilled players, and they're getting through this game, and they're not dying, but they're skilled players. They know how to play this game. They've spent probably 80 to 100 hours, if not more, already in the Dead Rising world. They know how to do this. It's not a huge surprise that they're not getting killed easily, right?
I suppose you're right. I think, and apparently they are adding difficulty modes to the game that's in a patch that's going to come out early 2017. So I think that will probably alleviate a lot of those issues that people have with it. But I think you're right. A lot of new players, this is really inviting because it is like a big open world zombie sandbox, and that is a lot of fun. To me, the fun of that world is more important than, oh, holy crap, this boss fight is really difficult. So,
well, and beyond that, it's like the last Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I think maybe I died twice.
Yeah,
these oftentimes the games that are really kind of these big AAA games are now designed so that it's not forcing you to repeat sections over and over again. If anything, the repeating sections in Uncharted 4 was starting to piss me off.
Yeah,
a lot of things in Uncharted 4 started to piss me off.
Well,
so I feel like we're getting a sneak preview of one of your picks next week.
I think you may be right. I think Dead Rising 4 may have rocketed itself into my top 5 of the year.
So now, with talking about like the tops of the year, what are your guys' feelings on the fact that probably for every single one of us, there are key games that we have not had time to play and subsequently can't really factor in? It's like I own Dishonored 4. I've been waiting to play it, but I literally haven't had time. And so even if I try to jam it in over the course of one day or something to get a better taste of what it's like, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting it in my top list.
You know what? Too, right? I stopped caring about that a long time ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't care about that, honestly.
Honestly, it was after the first couple of years of the show, I got to the point where I wasn't trying to play absolutely everything. I don't consider us the definitive voice of anything at all, except for what we like.
Okay, and this is our favorite games of the year. Yeah. It's not like these are the definitive.
Right. I play what I play. Here's the 5 games I played this year that I loved the most.
Right. Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. The other game I've been playing has been an oldie, perhaps, but a modern classic, maybe. And I talked about it this week on Back in My Play with Kevin Larrabee and JJ Epperson from 8-4 Play. Link Between Worlds on the 3DS. Yes. And
so great.
That game ages so well. I mean, it's just a fantastic game. It's one of my favorites on the 3DS. It might be the best 3DS game. I think it is the best Zelda game ever made.
So quick aside on that. That was the game I was desperately trying to get my daughter for her birthday, which is the first week of December. Couldn't get it at that point because, believe it or not, you can't get new copies anywhere. Used copies are selling at GameStop for full retail price for $39.90.
That's correct.
If you're lucky enough to find those. So I was able to finally find a GameStop that had it with the box, and the cartridge is in great shape. The manual is there, all of that. And so that is one of the big presents that's going to be opened tomorrow. And I'm really excited for her to try that because she's just finished Pokemon, and I think she's just ready now for that type of game experience.
Wait a minute. Open tomorrow?
Yep.
What kind of presents on Christmas Eve?
Yes.
Do you really? All of them?
Well, Santa drops his stuff off for Christmas morning.
Oh, right.
The stuff the parents give.
That's good. That's good. I like that strategy.
I am so against it. No, it's just because it's a conversation that I've had for years. Because my mother actually does something similar, and my soon-to-be ex-wife also used to really push for not opening everything on Christmas Eve, but opening one thing Christmas Eve, and I've always been dead set against it. I just do not go for that at all.
Yeah, it's not my tradition either, and I don't know, maybe it's a Midwest thing. I used to open everything on Christmas Day.
Yeah,
but it's my wife's tradition, and the kids seem to love it either way.
Okay,
cool.
I wanna bring up hacker alias Joshua Smith sent this in. He's asked, do you guys know if Nintendo pulled all Wii U's from shelves? There's almost no Nintendo hardware on shelves for Christmas. And I want to bring this up because you mentioned that Link Between Worlds is very, very, it's non-existent on shelves to find new. And I don't know if you've checked, but Wii U's are impossible to find. 3DS's are impossible to find. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's not just NES classics. Like every piece of Nintendo hardware this holiday is just super hard to find. And I wonder if
the Wii U doesn't surprise me.
The 3DS.
Yeah,
the 3DS surprises me big time with Pokemon out now.
Yeah.
Maybe
they're doing really well.
They had to have been thinking that Pokemon Sun and Moon, I mean, obviously they knew that was going to do really, really well, but I wonder if they just weren't prepared for that to sell a whole bunch of new 3DS hardware and thought that the install base was going to just be what it was. It's crazy to think about that you just can't find 3DS hardware anywhere. Or 2DS.
That's wild.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, the Wii U doesn't surprise me because, I mean, they're winding down that system. I can't imagine most places bought a lot of stock.
True.
Right?
True.
I mean, probably seen a sales uptick because it is Christmas, but
there has been a rumor, I don't know that I've seen anything substantiated, that Wii U hardware was actually like recalled.
Really?
In a lot of places. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but certainly it's gotten really hard to find, and Nintendo has said that they were stopping production of the system and weren't going to ship anymore to the US market anyway. So Hackerelli Storebon 3 in the chat says that Amazon has the new 3DS XL Yoshi Green, but that thing is kind of ugly. So even though it has Super Mario World pre-installed, it's kind of an ugly color. Anyway, that's what I've been playing. I've been playing Link Between Worlds and Dead Rising 4, and Link Between Worlds is fantastic. So good.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a game that I want to play in 3D, and there are only 3 games on the 3DS that have that for me. It's Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Island. What am I talking about?
3D Land?
Super Mario 3D Land, Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon, and Link Between Worlds.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
I'll link to the back of my play in the show notes. Check that out. We talk Link Between Worlds for like an hour and a half. So it's great stuff.
Although I would add to that, Shovel Knight is pretty phenomenal in 3D. It's the best version of Shovel Knight is the 3DS one because of that effect.
Fair enough.
Alrighty. All right.
And the Sega 3D Classics. Come on, man. I mean, those are pretty
God, yeah. 3D.
Well, that's true. But there are certain games where I'm like, I have to turn the 3D on, and it's those 3 games. Sega 3D Classics, I usually do turn them on, especially with Outrun. But yeah. All right, Ethan, what do you got?
Yeah, so I have been playing a lot of Shantae this week. It did come out on Vita, and that got me all excited. So I rushed out and bought a copy and got the Risky Boots edition. So I got the soundtrack with that. Love that game. It just looks so good, and it's so much fun to play. And it's exactly the right type of game for someone like me who wants to play a 2D action adventure game that reminds me of my childhood, right? But looks so crisp and so clean and has such great characters. I just am so happy that through thick and thin, Way Forward has been able to stick around and continue to deliver that type of game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that can't be easy. But yeah, I just love the variety in the missions. I just love the pacing of the whole experience. I love switching to the different animals, all of that. So it is what I would have imagined games would be if you had asked me back during the Super Nintendo era. What would games be like in 20 years? This is kind of what it would have looked like in my eyes.
Yeah, we thought back in the 90s that Aladdin was like, I'm playing the cartoon, but no.
Right.
Like now with Shantae, like games like that is playing the cartoon.
Right. And you have to wonder, this game, as it's come out now, it's something that barely made it to retail. It came out because it was Kickstarted, and then Xseed decided to release it in stores, but it's a small run. And you'd have to think, like, if exactly this game came out during the Super Nintendo era, it would be a blockbuster. It would be massive on the level of Donkey Kong Country, you'd think or hope, right?
Yeah.
You would hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the state of platformers.
Yeah. Well, and again, credit to them that they put it out on so many platforms as well. So for me, the perfect platform is the Vita, but it's on 3DS and Wii U and, PS4 and Xbox One and all that. And that's great.
Yeah.
So play it if you haven't had a chance. The other big one I wanted to talk about is the Star Wars Rogue One VR mission.
Yeah, I played this as well.
It's VR. Yeah. So I actually bought for $10 Battlefront during the holiday sale just so that I could play it because I had long since traded that disc in.
Speaking of which, and by the time this is posted, this won't matter. But this weekend, I believe all the Death Star missions are free to play, Ethan. If you
interesting.
They're there. So I gotta remember to fire those up myself because I do want to check them out.
Yeah. Well, the VR experience I thought was pretty spectacular.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's so far to me, and I have a Vive, but I think that this is in terms of visual presentation, the coolest looking VR I've ever seen. I mean, it helps a lot that it's throwing you into the world of Star Wars, but when the X-Wings are blowing up the TIE fighters just explode in like really spectacular fashion. It looks awesome. When you're almost about to die and there's electricity in the cockpit, it looks super, super cool. And just looking left and right and seeing the wings, for the X-Wing feels great. The sound effects are all there. And I don't want to spoil things, but I will say that, at a certain point, you think the mission's done and something gigantic flies right above you. And it really takes you off guard, and it kind of takes your breath away. It's a great, amazing. Great experience. Yeah. So it's like if I only wish that like there was an entire game based on that was like Rogue Squadron, right? But in VR.
I hope that it will be. So I didn't realize that Criterion actually did this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very cool there. But yeah, I'm with you. I fired it up for the first time this week, and I mean, totally geeked out at the beginning too, because if you've ever played Star Wars Battlefront, when you get to the title screen, an AT-AT walks by, among other things. Sometimes you'll have one of the little black like the RC droids running around. You'll have C-3PO and R2-D2 and all that stuff. But anyway, when you go into the VR experience, an AT-AT walks by, but it's in VR, so you're standing there, and it's literally like its foot is as tall as you. So it walks. So I sat on the title screen for a while, just watching it walk by because it was so cool. And then before you get into the mission, you're standing next to your TIE fighter, and it's using a warp navigation system. So you jump to different locations around the TIE fighter. Totally nerded out on that, especially once you got up into the cockpit and you're looking, and it's got all this great detail. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and the other thing that I didn't realize, and I didn't play with this too much while I was in space, but you can push all the buttons in the cockpit. Well, not all of them. A lot of the buttons in the cockpit are actually active. I'm not sure what all of them do. I mean, one of them actually, locks your S-foils in attack position, and one is for going to light speed. One actually brings your targeting computer up, although I don't know if it's actually functional or not, but it will actually slide out from the side and come in front of you, and just cool. Very, very, very cool. And yeah, you're flying around and during the actual mission, just to, honestly, even just seeing the nose of that X-Wing out in front of you was enough to just nerd out over, right? Like, because I played tons of Wing Commander. Wing Commander is one of my favorite series of all time, and nothing like that feeling.
And Eve Valkyrie is cool. Notice I called it by its correct name.
Yes,
Eve Valkyrie is cool, but still, Star Wars is something altogether more. And this is just the game experience you want to pop in. If you get a PSVR for Christmas, put this in first.
Oh God, yeah. And here's hoping that I would love to hear that they're making, even if it's like, I don't know, a 10 mission, $20 game, whatever. We need more of this. We desperately need more of this. This is another one of those, chalk this up as another one of those great PlayStation VR experiences that just shows like, here's what you can do with a budget.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. It almost certainly wasn't cheap. And, it definitely did convince me to rebuy Battlefront. So, there was that. But it's the only issue I had with it is just like other games on PSVR, I had drifting problems. So
I noticed that the first time I played it too. I realized at the end that the nose of the X-Wing was actually a little bit to the left. Yeah.
And that still bums me out. I wish there was a better solution for it than just put it on the floor for 10 seconds and hope it stabilizes, because I did that and I still had the problems. But again, if you can get past that and recognize that it's kind of amazing that you're getting VR at that level of fidelity at that price, it's a great experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the only other thing I've been playing this week is Super Mario Run, but I did just want to say briefly that it's the Toad Rally stuff that has been pulling me in. I didn't think I'd care about it, but just the super quick play sessions, the fact that I have my friends on there has made it really kind of a compelling thing. And so whenever I have that moments, where I'm either waiting for something at Starbucks or I'm waiting for a line to wrap up to buy more Christmas presents or whatever, that's just so easy to pull out and play. And I've been doing it borderline obsessively. I really, really have been enjoying that. Not really caring still about the world building stuff. That still feels kind of static and not too rewarding to me, but I've opened up a second part of the world, which felt nice, and started populating that. But this, for me, Mario Run is the gift that keeps on giving, and it's the first game since probably 2010 that's been on my phone that I've been just deeply compelled to come back to over and over again.
Nice. And they say they're not adding any new stages, but they did add a new mode middle of the week last week, the friendly mode, or friendly run, or whatever it's called, where you can do Toad Rally runs against specific friends on your leaderboard.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about tickets.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about tickets, although I believe they limit in the number of times you can do it per day, but it's not that bad. It's fine.
You also don't lose or gain toads in it.
That's right. Yeah, there's no penalty.
Yeah.
No gain, but no penalty. It's just about racing your friend or seeing what your friend did. So it works.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's been a fun week.
Greg.
The only other thing that I've been playing this week that we haven't talked about yet is I grabbed Picross E7 based on Phil's recommendation last week, $7. I'm not going to rattle on here about how much I love Picross. I've been over and over that. It's great. Tons of content, $6. Can't go wrong if you like Picross. All of those Picross E games are so worth getting if you're into this at all. I mean, it's they're just nice to have on your system. You don't have to necessarily do marathon sessions, although I do. Just to have 5 minutes of puzzle gameplay that you can sit down and play whenever. You can only buy them digitally, so you'll always have them on your system. That's it. That's all I got.
All righty. Well, how about we do some tweets?
Sure.
Just tweet it up.
And this week I did something a little bit different. I posted to our Facebook page where people and asked for questions. So we've got some Facebook questions too. Yeah. All right. And from Facebook, hacker alias Tyrell713 says, "Are you feeling less excited for the Nintendo Switch after this week's power rumors?"
So give me the lowdown on these power rumors, because I didn't pay very close attention.
Yeah, so Eurogamer ran a story saying that it's basically like a down. It's an NVIDIA Shield, yeah, but it's actually like downclocked from what that hardware specs out at, and then when it's run undocked, it's even lower. So.
I don't care, not even a little bit, because at this point, as you've heard me say many times, the PS4 and Xbox One experience, while great, doesn't feel that highly differentiated to me from the PS3 and the Xbox 360 generation. So if this falls anywhere between those two, and it gives me something that is on the level of end of the cycle PS3 on the go, that to me is fantastic, especially since I'm going to be principally playing this outside of the house and not inside the house.
Yeah, I feel similarly. Like, it honestly doesn't matter to me. And I was listening to Game Explain had a talk about the rumors that I'll link to that I thought was really good, where they were basically like, how did people not see this coming? I mean, it's Nintendo. Like, when they ever chased specs, and I agree with that. They
They have chased specs. I hate when people say that because up until the GameCube, they were chasing specs.
And even there, that was in pretty, close parity. I think this is the biggest issue, though, is like going to the GameCube era, they were still able to get all the third-party stuff, right?
Yes, right.
So that to me is the big issue, yes.
Yep, that's what we said before.
If you don't have the specs, you're not going to get Assassin's Creed 5 or like whatever they're going to do, or you're not going to have Destiny 2, maybe, probably counts you out for a lot of those things. But to me, and this has been the case with every Nintendo platform, Nintendo platforms to me are about playing Nintendo's games. And I have a PS4 and an Xbox to play multi-platform games. Like, I don't necessarily need them on Switch.
But CJ, it has not always been that way. That's also not thinking about the past. Right, because I mean, the thing is, with Super Nintendo, you bought Super Nintendo and you knew that you would have everything basically that you'd need. Nintendo, the NES was the only game in town back during that time, right? So, I mean, I think from N64 on, you could make that argument, but I think that it is.
There are some EGM articles. I think I posted this to Twitter, like complaining about lack of third-party support for the N64.
Yeah.
Right, and remember, that felt like a desert. That felt like an absolute desert post-launch.
Sure. Yeah. I agree.
But I do agree with what you said, or what that article that you were citing said. No, you couldn't really expect. I hoped for more.
Yeah.
But no, realistically, no. This is pretty much what I expected. Interesting to hear about about it being powered down a bit when it's not docked. Although that makes perfect sense. Didn't really expect that part, but I mean, I'm with you. I haven't bought Nintendo consoles, or I should say the home consoles, since the Wii for anything but Nintendo games. I buy them so that I can play the next Mario Kart and the next Mario proper, the next Zelda. And I mean, it's been nice with the Wii U, although fairly few people seem to buy it, but you saw some new franchises come around like Splatoon. That's great. Nintendo's always quality, but I do worry that what Ethan said a long time ago, going this route may make this the final proper Nintendo console.
Yeah, and I wonder also if this is going to be something that when they announce the price, which I would presume would be immediately followed by open pre-orders on Amazon and GameStop,
will there be... So.
Yeah. Well, presuming they do that, though, is it going to be a mad dash the way it was for PS4? Or is it going to be closer to what we saw for Wii U and 3DS, where in both cases, launch day, you could just walk in and buy them? Because there just wasn't...
I pre-ordered... I think I talked about that on this show, where I pre-ordered a Wii U at Walmart, and when I went there at midnight to pick it up, there was only one other person there picking up a system. Like, there was no energy to that.
I don't think you will, because I don't think they're going to make that huge marketing. You got to remember with the Wii U, they made that huge marketing misstep right from the start, and they never ever fixed it. Right through.
Now I don't think they have that problem with this.
Right. Deep into the Wii U's life, there was still confusion over what it was.
I think also they are, the Pokemon Go. The power of Pokemon Go. I mean, you can see it in the sales for Pokemon Sun and Moon. You can see it in the hardware for 3DS not being available at brick and mortar retail. Like, you can kind of see that Nintendo's strategy, whatever, it seems to be working. Like,
I had forgotten about that, and that's a really good point. I'm saying that this could be their last console. I'm not letting myself remember things like Pokemon being beyond this system now.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I hope happens. I even with the Wii U, off TV play was one of my favorite things, right?
Yep.
And being able to take a game from the TV and play it portably is a dream for me. Like, and that's been the promise of off TV play with PlayStation 4 and the Vita, even using remote play on a PC. But it's not a perfect experience. It's laggy. You have to log in. Like, there's all this extra crap that makes that difficult to do. the Switch makes that easy. It's seamless. So even if the Switch is not successful, which, who knows? I hope that I actually want other people to come in with their own versions of it. I don't know how plausible it is for Sony or Microsoft to say, okay, like we're going to do something similar, or we're going to improve remote play, or something like that, which certainly could happen. I know Microsoft with the Play Anywhere thing is coming very close to that already, but I want to see that. I want to take my console games and play them when I'm on a plane. That's kind of a dream. And to me, it is a shame if the power rumors are true, and that means that AAA games are going to land on Switch in the manner that I would like them to. Like if
they land on there at all.
Right.
If they land in there at all, exactly.
Remember, the one game they were showing is a 6-year-old game, the Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim, yeah. If Assassin's Creed comes out on Switch and it's missing features that are in the PS4 or Xbox One version, that's going to be a disappointment to me.
Well, and so here's kind of it could go two ways to me. Either Nintendo really could crush it, and people have wanted this all along, and it just becomes the ubiquitous platform for play because it's so flexible.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I hope that happens. That would be wonderful. Then
it's a very low percentage, though.
Yeah, I agree. If that happens, third party would come on board just like they did with the Wii and try to figure out how to maximize for it. The bigger concern I have is that what's more likely is that if it's a device that's less powerful than the original PS4 and Xbox One at a time in which we have PS4 Pro and Scorpio about to come out, then anybody who is a core gamer will look at it as not powerful enough, and those players would only then buy it if they are looking for another handheld game solution. And I think that unfortunately most players, even core players, no longer want to carry around multiple devices. It seems like there's interest waning even in carrying an iPad around compared to just having a big iPhone if that's what you want, right? Yeah. Because that market share has been dipping too. So between 3DS, Vita, and iPad, it just seems like those second devices are becoming less convenient for most players as the phone is becoming more powerful.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of the complaining that I've seen, about the power thing are people who don't play portable games generally. And,
right.
The 3DS is no huge powerhouse, but it can still produce an amazing game like Link Between Worlds. And I think, that's why I'm still excited about Nintendo hardware.
There's no question that the games Nintendo makes for this thing will be spectacular.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and apparently the 3DS is the chipset is not that different from the iPhone 3GS. It's like that far behind.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But
I mean, you could say, all right, so is this thing more powerful than the Wii U? If it is, then that's gonna. The Wii U has some fantastically excellent looking games, like Mario Kart 8 looks amazing. Zelda Breath of the Wild, even on the Fallon footage, looks great on the Switch. Like if it can produce those visuals, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it comes back to, though, again, what we've talked about so many times. We keep beating this horse, but it's absolutely true. Is that's great for Nintendo.
Yeah,
when it's the lead SKU, but when it's not the lead SKU, you're not going to see that level.
I agree. I think even if it's not as powerful, and people bring up, is going to run Grand Theft Auto. Remember that Rockstar did Chinatown Wars on the DS?
God, I wish they'd do another one like that.
So
loved Chinatown Wars.
My thinking is, okay, so they can't bring the main line to a Switch. Yep. What can they bring to that? Like if it turns out that the hardware is a success, which I hope it is. I'm a huge Nintendo nerd anyway. Does it mean that AAA studios, instead of just trying to bring the next Assassin's Creed to Switch, will it be like the side story stuff?
Well, I think that's great, and that would be probably, I would say, the best scenario, because what Ethan said, I agree with you, Ethan. I mean, you never know. There's this really, really remote chance that it could hit this major tipping point where it's just popular enough that the third parties sit up and look at it again, and then what you need to happen after that is a more often than not, those third parties that are spending the money on AAA games for the system would need to sell a ton of games.
Yeah.
For it to, because otherwise you'll have the Wii situation all over again, where the first 2 years you got those and then they petered it out.
The thing that gives me hope.
That's what I'm saying.
Go
is
ahead.
What you just said is that's a really interesting scenario, and I think it will actually be the best one, because not only would you have the support from the AAA publishers, but if they're able to spend a little less money making sort of side story or supporting games that sell well, not only is that good for them, but it's great for us and it's great for Nintendo, because now it differentiates the system in a good way. Right now, the differentiator is Nintendo games, and it's not as powerful, but it's portable.
That's
if
true.
And you're getting a Grand Theft Auto experience you can't get anywhere else. Well, hey.
Yeah, even more. What really excites me about that, I don't know if you saw I think Glixel did an interview with the guy from Bethesda who said that he saw a Switch demo at E3, and he said that it was the best demo of a hardware platform that he's ever seen. And I'm paraphrasing there, but basically, if you can get that person excited about a hardware platform, to me, then you're thinking about, or they should be thinking about, what can we offer if we can't do a direct version of the next Assassin's Creed or the next game. What can we do?
And here's the thing: is it turns video games from being likened to movies, where you have to sit and have an isolated window of 2 hours to play, into something that's more like a book. Right, where you can take it wherever you go, and you can sit in your own nook, at a coffee shop and play. And I think that's great. So that could be a huge winner, especially if people like the novelty of this. Because again, let's be fair, PlayStation 4 Pro probably is underselling, based on expectations, in good part because it just doesn't feel fresh at all.
Right.
And this feels new, if nothing else. The other thing, do you remember when Extra Credits did a piece on why the Vita failed? If you haven't seen it, it's a great thing to look up. And they were comparing it to the 3DS. And the big issue is that it was comparably inexpensive to make 3DS games, or it was very expensive to make Vita games, right? Mm-hmm. And so we could be in a position after this holiday where people are saying, oh, shit, now if you want to compete in the PS4, Xbox One space, you have to be a major service-based game. You have to be able to compete with Overwatch, or you're doomed. You can't do Dishonored 2 unless you can do games like that at a slightly smaller scale and get lots of sales and have people very happy on Switch. If that becomes the less expensive alternative for people that just don't feel like they can compete with, Blizzard.
Well, and Nintendo has already announced, right, that they are supporting Unreal Engine and Unity and all of the stuff that it has been bringing some of these larger scale games to other consoles anyway. So. If downporting, even though that's a terrible way to put it, but you reusing assets to make a separate experience or an additive experience to something you're already playing, that'd be fantastic.
It's an interesting thought. It's something I hadn't thought of, but you're absolutely right. That would be fantastic if it worked out.
I don't think it will.
But, I'm not sure that it will.
But it sure would be nice.
But I think we're 3 weeks away from.
Yes, the 12th, right?
Event. Yeah. So I'm hugely excited for that. Let's bring it on.
Well, and I'll say one last thing, and that is, I tend to get into collector mode when I feel like we're seeing the last of a type of product from a company. So that's where Vita is hitting my sweet spot, because I know there will be no Vita 2. Right. I am instantly ready to collect the Switch, in good part because I think there's an excellent chance it's the last time you ever see someone do dedicated hardware on this scale for.
But do you think? Let's throw it out there. Let's say that Switch is successful on the level of the DS.
Sure.
Do you see Sony or Microsoft trying a similar type thing? Where
if that happens, yes. Oh, I do. Look at Connect and Move.
At the level of the DS?
Well, no, you're saying they stole motion controls, right?
Suddenly they were chasing motion controls. Because I think it won't be that expensive 3-4 years from now to do a PS4 that is portable, right?
Yeah, I think you have PC laptops that can do, can do games.
I don't see it happening. If you're saying that it's successful on the level of a 3DS, is what you're saying?
Or
he said a DS.
A DS?
A DS or a 3DS, yeah. I mean, 3DS has been a success, I think.
I don't know. I don't know why you'd want to split your market like that.
Well,
Sony's
no, the point is
Sony's taking
not
too
splitting
high
the market.
Sony's.
I'm saying
I get it because it would just be playing. Yes, I understand. But
PS4 games on the go.
Yes, I get it, but I still think you would be splitting your market to a point, because it definitely wouldn't be as powerful as whatever the current iteration of the PS4 is.
Sure, yeah,
and be priced like well enough to sell. And I really think, Sony's taking two high profile shots at portable systems. And yes, I realize that the Vita is still fine in Japan. It's not a very big market. So
yeah, actually, it's funny to think. I mean, what kind of a bet the company decision the Wii was, even the DS to some extent with Nintendo, and they're kind of doing it again, right? Because they are going all in on this portable system, and it could very well not work out for them.
But they had a legacy to build on with those. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, right up until the Game Boy Advance, they were building on a legacy of one of the longest lasting consoles in history. They'd already, it was cheap. It was always cheap, and that's what they built on. And if you remember when they announced the DS, they hedged their bets.
They did. They said they were going to continue doing Game Boy Advance.
It was not a replacement for the Game Boy Advance. The 3DS
was saying that the 3DS is going to continue even after.
Right. The Switch. 3DS was a replacement for the DS, but that was after the DS was established. So I don't know. It seems awfully risky. I don't know why you'd want to go that route. I would be much more. I would believe much more.
It's
you're going to see more.
Is the Switch going to prove that there's a market there?
If it comes out and it's monstrously successful, maybe.
Bear in mind, also, Microsoft, not only have they not done a handheld, but back in the day, if I remember correctly, John Davison was speculating that Surface might move in the direction of being something very similar to what we see with the Switch, where, it's a portable Xbox One, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd ever call it that. That's what I'm saying. I think that when you start branding it like that, you're limiting its potential.
Well, I think
it's really a portable PC.
Then expect, the really high quality graphics on the go. And if they're not going to get that, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this, with the whole thing.
I think it's going to make one segment of the audience very, very happy. And half of the people that it makes happy will not have expected that it would be something they want. It'll just be a thing where, they suddenly realize after they've played it at a friend's house, how nice and convenient it is to have something like that they can take everywhere. Right. So I think what I'm saying is I think that this will move beyond the diehards that are pre-sold like me. The question is just how large that additional audience is.
I agree. All right, let's do another Facebook comment from Hacker Alias Revax. You remember Revax? We used to get back in the day. All right. He says, I've been under a rock for the last 4 years since having children and haven't gamed much at all. I'm getting a PS4 for Christmas. Not really a shooter fan. Where do I need to start now that I plan on catching up on lost time? What are the must-play games? The last game I played was The Last of Us, and before that, I have no idea. Also, are the new Rock Band and Guitar Hero games worth playing? My wife and I loved those games back in their heyday. Thanks.
No.
So, no to Rock Band and Guitar Hero?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, the new Guitar Hero I don't think is a must. New Rock Band. If you really love Rock Band, then yes, but otherwise.
If you're a lapsed player that just remembers how much fun you used to have playing it, I don't think you want to go spend the money on it.
Probably unless you can find it real cheap, which is probably going to be the case after the holidays.
That's true. Yeah. But you'll need to buy guitars and all that fun stuff too, won't you? Well, I guess in Rock Band you won't because you can just get the adapter. But anyway, if you've got.
So, what are the must-play PS4 games?
Oh my God. Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4.
Bloodborne, if you have the time for it.
Well, Bloodborne, if you're a gamer that you haven't gamed much at all since you had kids and you don't have a lot of time, I don't know that I would necessarily suggest that one. Last Guardian might be a good one. Titanfall 2, yeah.
The Witcher 3.
Overwatch.
If you haven't been gaming long enough that you didn't play The Last of Us,
Oh, he
my
did
God,
play The Last of Us.
Oh, did he? Okay, I didn't. I missed that part. Sorry.
That was the last major one. Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, and again, bear in mind that some of these, Ratchet and Clank's a great one. Something like MGS5, you can play MGS5 in like short spurts. It's a massive game, but you can have satisfying 20-minute sessions.
Yeah. Doom. You don't want to miss Doom.
Oh, Doom is great. Yeah.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider for sure. Rise of the Tomb Raider,
or Rise. Yeah.
Yep. That's a pretty good list to start.
Yeah,
I'd say
that's good.
Oh, Rocket League.
Rocket League's a good choice. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. All right. I think that's pretty good. All right. Hacker alias The Famous Paul says, I find myself buying digital versions of games I already own during these holiday sales because they include the DLC that I did not have. Do you guys double dip on digital releases?
No.
I don't care. I don't tend to care about the additional digital content that much. I rarely buy a la carte, and I can't ever think of a time in which I've deliberately bought like a Game of the Year edition just for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If there's post-release digital content that I really, really want, I'll just buy it. Then I won't wait for it. Yeah.
I'm comfortable getting all pissy at Greg for just taking Mario Run off of his phone because he got through the critical path. But that's actually exactly what I do on AAA games. I go through them and create them.
I know you do, and that was something I wanted to bring up last week. But
I'm a hypocrite. No doubt. Yeah.
I'm glad we all agree.
Wait, Ethan just admitted that he's a hypocrite.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we all are to some extent.
On this 23rd day of December, the year of our Lord, 2016.
After this podcast, I'm just going to sit down and play Game of War for hours.
I love it. I love it.
Wow. For me, since I'm buying the digital version anyway, sometimes I buy the DLC pack if it's cheap also, but I usually can't get the Game of the Year edition if I've already bought the regular one. Like, it won't let me purchase that.
Right, because it says you already own the game.
It says you already own the game. Yeah, exactly. So, digital download future.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, by the way, I did capitalize on some of the very, very good deals that are going on right now on the PlayStation Network holiday sale.
Yeah, there's also a flash sale this weekend.
Yeah, well, I bought Bloodborne again. I had the disc version, had traded it in, but I bought it for $7, which was a really good deal. But what was interesting is when I bought it, it wouldn't let me download it because I already had it on my machine as a disc version. So I had to delete the disc version, even though I don't have the disc anymore, for it to even start downloading.
The disc install.
Right.
So and I had to do that with some game. I think Disney Infinity, because during Christmas Disney Infinity goes on crazy sale digitally, because of course you could buy it, and what are you going to do with it if you don't have the base?
I was going to say you can't buy it anymore.
Yeah, well, there's that. So like in the last 2 years, Disney Infinity, like the previous year's version, goes on crazy discount. So I bought a digital version of whatever the 2 or 3. I think 3 was the first one I bought, and it was cheap. It was like $10. So, and I had to delete the disc install and then install the digital version.
Good times.
Anyway. All right. Hagrilius Leish Brown says, and I probably butchered that name. Sorry if that's not your name, or how you pronounce it. Alrighty. He says, what did you ask Santa for gaming wise? And what did you already get yourself for Christmas?
I am terrible because I pretty much just buy anything I want anyway.
Same.
So I didn't ask Santa for anything gaming wise this year.
Oh,
Me
man.
neither.
I still was able to, as I said earlier in the show, find 3 games that I really wanted that I hadn't ended up buying. And that was Dead Rising 4, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and the Paper Mario Wii U game.
No Color Splash.
That's a great game that will probably be resurrected on Switch, right? I mean, if they're going to do that whole thing, where they bring Wii U games that never got a whole lot of play over to the Switch. They may as well do Paper Mario Color Splash.
Well, and what's interesting is, after the holidays, given that my family is really enjoying Mario 3D Land, I am thinking about taking the Wii U upstairs and taking it off of the main TV, just because I am out of HDMI ports. And so it's kind of an emotion, but at the same time, it's nice to just cuddle up in bed and have that Wii U controller,
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I didn't ask for anything gaming-wise. So.
Nope.
All right, Hacker Alias Space Kappa says,
"Hey, Joe
Walker from YouTube,
Backlog.
YouTube star, the Backlog, yeah, says if you had unlimited time and no obligations, what are games you'd go back to play more of?"
I would go back to around the time of Suikoden 2 and Vandal Hearts 2 and play through all the Japanese RPGs that I have not put nearly enough time into because I just don't have the time anymore.
What a great answer. That is a great answer, especially starting this Suikoden 2, because I've heard so many great things about that. I downloaded it on the Vita.
Never played through it.
Always mean to play it, and I've played 45 minutes of it. Yeah.
Yep. I was growing up, Japanese RPGs were they were one of my favorite genres. I used to tear through them like nobody's business. And I feel like I got to play a lot of stuff that a lot of people didn't play because of that. But yeah, since right around the late 90s, outside of the odd like Final Fantasy game or a game that I had to play for review, I have not had the time to spend on RPGs. And of course, in the last 10 years, having 3 children and being an adult with a 9-to-5 job, not so much, and I hate it. I mean, I even look at some more recent stuff, not even Japanese RPGs, but like The Witcher 3, one of my favorite games last year. I haven't touched it in over a year. I didn't come close to finishing it. I'd love to try out the extra content, and I can't justify buying it because I just do not have the time to dedicate to that game.
And that is the game I think that I was going to list myself, actually, Greg. That's the one I'd say, I wanted more time for Witcher 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I think open world games in general, like there are a lot of those games where I just never get to it because there's so many things to do. I feel overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many different icons on the map. Like what am I going to go to next? And I at a certain point, I stop.
You just don't.
Yep. Unless you could take that console wherever you went, like a Switch.
Well, yeah.
I agree.
The Dead Rising 4,
but that wouldn't work for me. But yes.
But yeah, like The Witcher, I own that on Xbox One, and I would like to go back and play more of that, but I just don't. I don't have the time to do that. And games like Dark Souls, I want to play more of those too, but it's a time commitment that I just unfortunately can't.
Well, and that's the bummer is how many games do you guys have that maybe you bought for sale, that you really absolutely wanted to play? Yeah, I have Dying Light. I've never tried it. Evolve, never tried it. Divinity, never tried it. Bought them because they sounded great and they got good reviews, but I'm always telling myself one day I'll get to them. I don't know if I ever will.
Right. Yeah. All right. Hacker Alias Daytona 24 says, we're seeing more holiday themed in-game events. Do you play them? And what games would you like to see include them?
Not really.
Yeah, I don't care at all.
Yeah, so there's an Overwatch Christmas themed event going on now, and I haven't played any of that, but I want to. And then Dead Rising 4, while the whole game is a holiday event, sort of, they also have, if you get the season pass, they have a downloadable Christmas pack that basically turns all the zombies into Santa's elves, and they give some of the zombies Santa suits and things like that, which is just awesome. And I did end up buying the season pass in part because of that. And then in the DLC trailer, they teased that the next thing they're doing is a golf mini game in Dead Rising 4, which I'm all for. So I went all in on that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I used to like if a game just sort of has some kind of interesting update based on the season, but I don't go out of my way to play that stuff.
But he actually, it's becoming a much bigger thing. Destiny has that thing where they're doing sparrow racing now. Like there are a lot of AAA games, especially the big ones, that are doing content to keep players in, and a lot of that is holiday themed, just because that's
easy. Yeah.
They don't have to think about it, and it's sort of a timed thing, so it gets people in the door, gets them back playing. I think it works really well. Unfortunately,
if your game came out like early November, yeah, sure, late December is a great time to pull people back in, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Dead Rising came out in early December, and they've already got a holiday DLC pack. Like I find that kind of thing interesting, and would certainly be all for that kind of thing continuing. I would like to see, there was one in Pikmin 3 that was a holiday level where you did something with a Christmas tree, I think.
That's
that was naughty, or
yeah. No, it was like around a Christmas tree, like you played Pikmin in this level. I think you went up the tree on some tinsel. I don't remember. Anyway,
I love the setting.
A really fun idea.
Yeah.
Christmas nights, never forget.
Exactly.
Christmas.
The last time it was done right.
I don't know about that. All right. Corelius P.O. Rowe says, where does 2016 rank in terms of games? For me, it's up there with the best years ever.
Yeah, I think it's done some really interesting things. I think, for me anyway, the emergence of VR was a super big deal. I finally got a new Fire Emblem, which, since that's my favorite series ever, is saying a lot, especially since it was actually 3 games.
Right.
We finally got Uncharted, which was supposed to be 2015, but we got it in March, just as there was kind of
in May. We didn't get delayed.
Oh, it was May. That's right. It got delayed further. You're right. But it came out at a time in which I was hungry for something new. Super Mario Run, Nintendo bringing something cool to mobile is a big highlight for me. I think this was a really good year. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I actually, since we're doing our Game of the Year show next week, I think, I started amassing a list of the games that I played this year or that came out this year that I really enjoyed, and it is a long list. Like, it is a really big list.
Yeah,
and whittling that down to 5 games it's kind of crazy. Like, and it really, like, there are more games coming out every day that I'm like, oh, I should play that, or I guess I'm not going to get to download whatever it is. Like a new Arcade Archives comes out, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should get that. Oh, but I have like 10 other games that I'm currently working my way through. It has just been a great year for games. Like, I think Glixel did a list of their top 50 games of the year, and I'm looking through it, and it's like, shit, there's so many good games like that came out.
They put that out too, and it's like, oh, so was there any of your favorite games that didn't make our list? And thinking, really, did a top 50 list? And you think, but then thinking about the year, it's like, yeah, totally, I could see
a lot
for
did
sure
not make their list. Yeah. And what is it?
That's always a good sign.
I think Steam Spy tweeted out that 40% of the games on Steam. So the total number of games on Steam
came out
like
this
35 or 40% of those games came out in 2016.
Yeah, but a lot of those are shit.
Well, that's true. That's very true. But it's crazy to think about. Like, yeah. And Touch Arcade just did a list of their top 100 games of 2016. I mean, mobile, if you want to.
Oh, though, great credit to those guys. I actually still listen to the Touch Arcade podcast, and I go to their site every day.
Same.
You look at that top 100 list, and they're there to support the big free-to-play games, but they also support a ton of the premium games as well in there, and that's always nice to see. It's a nice balanced list.
I just want to point out, Ethan, and we can talk about this next week if you want. So number 34 on Glixel's list is Super Mario Run. Number 33 is Clash Royale.
Oh,
yeah. I'm not watching the feed. Did Ethan's teeth just shatter or anything?
No, I know, and I know that people legitimately love Clash Royale. I don't like the gambling aspects of it. I think that takes away a lot from the game because, unlike Overwatch, it's not something that's on the side that you can ignore altogether. It's embedded deeply into the game, and I think that drops the quality by like 20% to me. But I understand people feeling differently for sure, and I like Super Mario Run a lot more than that game, but it's just my opinion. Other people feel very differently.
I'm looking at this list and just realizing how many great games this year I did not even play.
Yeah. God, so many. Titanfall 2. Did you play Titanfall 2?
Titanfall 2 is awesome. That's in my top 5. I'll tell you that.
Good. Yeah, that's in my top 5 too. All right.
Have you played the multiplayer on that, by the way, CJ?
Yeah. What?
Did you play the multiplayer in Titanfall 2?
No, I didn't touch it.
Now, that's what's crazy is that single player is so good that it makes your top 5. But I'll tell you, the multiplayer in that game is the only multiplayer I've really cared about this year. It's really good.
I should try that. Maybe in the next week or so, I'll give that a go. Hacker alias Benjamin Rivers says, is there a not great version / port of a game that you prefer over other better versions? If so, why?
I have one answer for this, and you guys are going to groan because it's so clear that you've heard me talk about this game a million times. I prefer the Genesis version of Batman Returns over the awesome Konami Super Nintendo beat-em-up version. Yeah. And I can't defend the way it looks. I can't defend the way it sounds. I'm talking about the cartridge version here. I can defend the way it plays, and that's why I enjoy it. It's a side-scrolling platformer action game that moves a lot slower, obviously, than a beat 'em up, but has everything to do with managing all of Batman's wonderful little toys, and I really, really, really like it because of that.
I have one that's even more contemporary and contentious, I think, and that is the Vita version of Borderlands 2. And the reason I love that, even though the frame rate isn't, fantastic and it supports 2 people simultaneously instead of 4, is that I can carry it anywhere. And so the nice thing is the save file carries over across the PS3, PS4, and Vita. So when I'm home, I will play on the PS4, of course, but sometimes, ironically, through remote play on my Vita. But whenever I'm out and about, I will play the Vita version, and it's solid enough. And I'd say maybe 70% of the total time played in that game has been on Vita because of its convenience. So that's my favorite version of it. Yeah.
I'm going to say Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the Super Nintendo.
Was that a lesser version?
No, I mean, there have been ports of Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Oh, since then.
Okay. But I still love the Super Nintendo version, and it is entirely nostalgia driven. Sure.
Okay. See, I would go and say that I prefer all of the Genesis versions of Street Fighter 2 over the Super Nintendo versions because of the controller. Because of the controller.
I think that didn't they record Ken underwater when he was saying Shoryuken though?
Yep. That's true.
Those voice clips are so terrible.
Didn't matter. The control was so much better.
Control was great. Those controllers are awesome. That's true.
I also preferred the Saturn version of Tomb Raider over the PlayStation, but that's
I was
going to
say exactly that.
Better. Saturn version was actually better.
Really?
Yes.
That was the lead SKU. That game was built for the Saturn. There were visual effects in the Saturn version that weren't in the PlayStation version.
Really? Huh.
Yep.
I did not know that.
The more you know.
Hacker, let's wrap it up with this one.
Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it with this one. Hacker alias Miri says, are there ever times where you don't feel like doing the podcast, or are you still hyped and excited 10 years in?
To be totally honest, every week I look forward to doing this. I really do. Some weeks more than others, but
sure.
But yeah, it's for me, I don't know. There's a normalcy about it now that I really look forward to it.
We've just been doing it for so long, like the same time each week. Like it would feel weird not to.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to it, obviously a lot fresher than you guys since I've been doing it less than a year. Yeah, I totally look forward to it too, and it's something that now I've really come to rely on because it's a great opportunity to catch up with old friends. And I think that's the thing. It's a show that people love to listen to, but to me, that's almost a nice side effect of being able to get together with friends and have a rationale that my family accepts that I'll be in a room for an hour and a half talking about video games.
And right. To get way too personal about this, but I did this once before and I'm going to do it again, is that I've mentioned this on the show before, but in 2016, my marriage ended, and this show has helped me get through it. It really has. It ended, and all the sort of emotional crap that goes with that, not only for me, but for my children. Been a very, very, very stressful year for me, and this is a great way to release pressure, to hang out with friends and just talk about video games. Like it was a huge help to me through this year in particular.
Yeah. And I think, with other shows, even like, One Up Yours and Weekend Confirmed, and the shows that a lot of people love and miss, like when those go off the air or when those people start doing something else, you always hear, like John Davison before the Glixel podcast started, he was saying, "Oh, I want to get back to that," or like you always hear. And to me, there is something about like getting together with friends and talking about video games on Skype or Google Hangouts or wherever it is. That's just interesting. Like I love listening to those shows, and I think over time, even though you don't actually know those people. In a lot of cases, like you get to know them through their show, and it's like this weird personal connection with them. And for us, it's just continuing our friendship from 15 years ago or from Illinois. And it feels like that for an hour and a half or 2 hours every week. And it's great.
Absolutely.
We used to talk about video games when we worked together because we worked at a video game magazine.
That's just it. I mean, being we were all kids before we had actual lives, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I remember for me, it was my friends and I would hang out at one of the local video game stores and you'd sit there and talk about video games. That's just what you did. Right.
Well, and the thing is, I can't speak for you guys, but I had 12 years that I loved at Sega, and I'm deeply proud of what I'm doing now, and it's a thrill. But still, I think my favorite professional years were at Ziff Davis. The fun of being with a group that loved games as much as I did across the board, and would spend endless hours putting that book together every single month.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I love that we still capture that once a week.
Sure. Yeah. And for me, like, I do invest more time in this podcast than just the 2 hours that we record. There's also like editing and posting and whatnot. But and some weeks I don't want to do it.
Really, I do not blame you.
It takes all of my energy on Monday to be like, oh, all right, I'm not going to hang out with my wife and daughter. I'm gonna edit the podcast upstairs or whatnot. So but it's fun to do, and I think it's when I go to shows like PAX East, PAX West, or PlayStation Experience, and run into people who listen to the show and mention it, and they come up to me and talk to me, like it's fantastic. Like I love that people listen to our interaction on this show and then feel a part of it too. And will come up to me at a show and say hello. Like I love that.
Well, and CJ, if it's not already, eventually this will probably be the longest running video game podcast on the air, right?
I think we have a bunch up in front of us on that for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There were plenty of video game podcasts before this. Major Nelson.
That are still recording?
Yeah, Major Nelson.
I guess, yeah.
And the CADcast, and there are a couple of Xbox podcasts that started before us that are still going. There's a lot. Yeah.
So we just need Microsoft to get out of consoles and we'll be good.
I think we have been the most consistent, honestly. Yeah. Like, when we say that it's episode 529, it's basically 529 weeks since we started.
Yeah.
Like we even in the holidays we don't miss a show. Like we schedule something around the holidays so that we can
right
get together and talk games.
Speaking of which, we need to reschedule for next week too.
Oh, right.
Excellent. Yeah, we do need to do that. But I did want to thank everybody for listening again. Like we've been doing this for 10 years and it's fantastic that some people have been listening since episode 1 and that people go back and listen to our back catalog. Like amazing. And I'm so happy that people like listening to our banter. And it's just yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we'll keep doing it. Alrighty then, that is our show for this week. If you have a comment for us or would like to send us a question, maybe you can direct that to @P1 Podcast on the Twitter, or we have a Facebook page there on Facebook that you can post a question there too. Maybe when I post the call for questions on Twitter, I'll start also doing that on Facebook. On Facebook, you can get a little bit more detailed, ask a little longer question than 140 characters might allow. So I think that works really well as well. We also have a website, player1podcast.com. You can see the show notes for all of the shows that we do. I usually include relevant links to stuff that we've been talking about during the show. And you can leave a comment there, or we've got a message board where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners. Plus, we've got blog entries about Sega CD stuff and Generation 16 episodes from Mr. Greg Seward.
If and when they ever get done.
Yes.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by going to player1podcast.com or by going to the iTunes Music Store. While you're at the iTunes Music Store, you can invest $1.99.
Cheap.
To buy the Player One Podcast iPhone app. It gives you one-touch communication with us via everything but voicemail. And every episode, 529 episodes, I believe. I think they're all on there.
I think so.
Available to download, not to mention a couple of special episodes that we didn't number.
That's true. We did a lot of unnumbered things, and we did. I think we did like that one year we all went to PAX. We did multiple episodes,
and we did an episode 0.
If you count those, then yeah, and we did an episode 0. You're right.
You don't want to listen to that, but we did do it. And if you've got an Android phone, you can head over to the Android Amazon App Store to buy the Player One Podcast Android app for that same $1.99.
Also cheap.
You can check us out on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at P1 Podcast. You can watch us live, usually every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Normally, but this week we actually are recording on Friday night, and next week we will probably be doing the same for our year in review episode. Just because holidays. What are you going to do? But yes, normally you can find us over there at YouTube. P1 Podcast. YouTube.com/P1 Podcast. And of course, if you like what you've heard and you want us to keep going for another 529 weeks, you know what? We'll probably keep going for another 529 weeks, no matter what anyway.
True.
But please, if you have liked what you've heard and you want to help us out, you can head over to patreon.com/P1 Podcast and support the show with your hard-earned dollars. Keeps the lights on, keeps the website up and running, keeps CJ motivated.
Yes.
Actually bought all of CJ's daughter's Christmas gifts this year.
No, it didn't.
Buys the crew some games that we can play together as well.
True.
Which I think makes the show a little bit better. So yeah, please support us if you are so inclined. CJ?
Yeah,
Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Thanks for another great year of the Player One Podcast and being the host.
This was a good one. I think this was a good year.
I think so.
Yeah. We brought Ethan on, and
we did,
as our fourth chair. I think a lot of people are warming up to Ethan. I think you're getting a fan base.
He's cuddly.
That's good.
I can speak from experience, from firsthand experience. He is cuddly,
especially after that rockin' version of Last Christmas.
Oh my God! I tell you, I get a little bit more excited every time Ethan comes on. So Ethan,
yeah,
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Yes, Merry Christmas to you, Greg.
And thank you for coming on this year and being our new 4th chair.
I've been loving it.
Yes.
We've been loving it too. That will do it for this week. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and have a Happy New Year, because our next episode should be posting after January 1st.
Well,
so, but we'll see. We'll see what CJ does. But either way,
I'll probably release it early, because I know, people are traveling during the holidays. Maybe they want a new podcast to listen to, and not a lot of podcasts are releasing episodes during this 2-week period. So,
and next week will be a big episode. It'll be our top 5 games episode, along with a couple other awards we give out every year. Yep. You should see the statues; they're beautiful. So,
yeah,
you want to be in on this. So tune in next week. Till then, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.